deserted her. Jenny saw the shop door open and vanished, thereby locking it behind her, while Clarence went on hastily into the kitchen. Mr. Coombes came heavily against the door, and Mrs. Coombes, finding the key was inside, fled upstairs and locked herself in the spare bedroom. So the new convert to joie de vivre emerged upon the passage, his decorations a little scattered, but that respectable hatful of fungi still under his arm. He hesitated at the three ways and decided on the kitchen, whereupon Clarence, who was fumbling with the key, gave up the attempt to imprison his host and fled into the scullery, only to be captured before he could open the door into the yard. Mr. Clarence is singularly reticent of the details of what occurred. It seems that Mr. Coombes's transitory irritation had vanished again, and he was once more a genial playfellow. And as there were knives and meat choppers about, Clarence very generously resolved to humor him and so avoid anything tragic. It is beyond dispute that Mr. Coombes played with Mr. Clarence to his heart's content. They could not have been more playful and familiar if they had known each other for years. He insisted gaily on Clarence trying the fungi, and after a friendly tussle was smitten with remorse at the mess he was making of his guest's face. It also appears that Clarence was dragged under the sink and his face scrubbed with the blacking brush, he being still resolved to humor the lunatic at any cost, and that finally, in a somewhat dishevelled, chipped, and discolored condition, he was assisted to his coat and shown out by the back door, the shop-way being barred by Jenny. Mr. Coombes's wandering thoughts then turned to Jenny. Jenny had been unable to unfasten the shop door, but she shot the bolts against Mr. Coombes's latchkey, and remained in possession of the shop for the rest of the evening. It would appear that Mr. Coombes then returned to the kitchen, still in pursuit of gaiety, and, albeit a strict Good Templar, drank, or spilt down the front of his first and only frock coat, no less than 5 bottles of the stout Mrs. Coombes insisted upon having for her health's sake. He made cheerful noises by breaking off the necks of the bottles with several of his wife's wedding present dinner plates, and during the earlier part of this great drunk he sang divers merry ballads. He cut his finger rather badly with one of the bottles, the only bloodshed in this story, and what with that, and the systematic convulsion of his inexperienced physiology by the liquorish brand of Mrs. Coombes's stout, it may be the evil of the fungus poison was somehow allayed. But we prefer to draw a veil over the concluding incidents of this Sunday afternoon. They ended in the coal cellar in a deep and healing sleep. An interval of 5 years elapsed. Again it was a Sunday afternoon in October, and again Mr. Coombes walked through the pine wood beyond the canal. He was still the same dark-eyed, black-moustached little man that he was at the outset of the story, but his double chin was now scarcely so illusory as it had been. His overcoat was new, with a velvet lapel, and a stylish collar with turn-down corners, free of any coarse starchiness, had replaced the original all-round article. His hat was glossy, his gloves newish, though one finger had split and been carefully mended, and a casual observer would have noticed about him a certain rectitude of bearing, a certain erectness of head that marks the man who thinks well of himself. He was a master now, with 3 assistants. Beside him walked a larger sunburnt parody of himself, his brother Tom, just back from Australia. They were recapitulating their early struggles, and Mr. Coombes had just been making a financial statement. "It's a very nice little business, Jim," said brother Tom. "In these days of competition you're jolly lucky to have worked it up so, and you're jolly lucky, too, to have a wife who's willing to help you like yours does." "Between ourselves," said Mr. Coombes, "it wasn't always so. It wasn't always like this. To begin with, the missus was a bit giddy. Girls are funny creatures." "Dear me." "Yes, you'd hardly think it, but she was downright extravagant, and always having slaps at me. I was a bit too easy and loving, and all that, and she thought the whole blessed show was run for her. Turned the house into a regular caravansary, always having her relations and girls from business in, and their chaps. Comic songs a Sunday it was getting to, and driving trade away. And she was making eyes at the chaps, too. I tell you, Tom, the place wasn't my own." "Shouldn't have thought it." "It was so. Well, I reasoned with her. I said, I ain't a duke to keep a wife like a pet animal. I married you for help and company, I said. You got to help and pull the business through. She wouldn't hear of it. Very well, I says, I'm a mild man till I'm roused, I says, and it's getting to that. But she wouldn't hear of no warnings. Well? It's the way with women. She didn't think I had it in me to be roused. Women of her sort, between ourselves, Tom, don't respect a man until they're a bit afraid of him. So I just broke out to show her. In comes a girl named Jenny that used to work with her and her chap. We'd had a bit of a row, and I came out here. It was just such another day as this, and I thought it all out. Then I went back and pitched into them. You did? I did. I was mad, I can tell you. I wasn't going to hit her if I could help it, so I went back and licked into this chap just to show her what I could do. He was a big chap, too. Well, I chucked him and smashed things about and gave her a scaring, and she ran up and locked herself into the spare room. Well? That's all. I says to her the next morning, now you know, I says, what I'm like when I'm roused. And I didn't have to say anything more. And you've been happy ever after, eh? So to speak. There's nothing like putting your foot down with them. If it hadn't been for that afternoon, I should have been tramping the roads now, and she'd have been grumbling at me, and all her family grumbling for bringing her to poverty. I know their little ways. But we're all right now, and it's a very decent little business, as you say. They proceeded on their way meditatively. Women are funny creatures, said Brother Tom. They want a firm hand, said Coombs. What a lot of these funguses there are about here, remarked Brother Tom presently. I can't see what use they are in the world. Mr. Coombs looked. I dessay they're sent for some wise purpose, said Mr. Coombs. And that was as much thanks as the purple Pileus ever got for maddening this absurd little man to the pitch of decisive action, and so altering the whole course of his life. End of The Purple Pileus by H. G. Wells.